You're listening to iCannabisRadio.com.
Hi, it is Monday night, and it is iCannabis Radio. So if it's Monday night in iCannabis Radio, I must be Georgia, and thanks for tuning in. I'm in the studio with producer Chris, who is suffering some severe ass drag from the last day at Arapahoe Basin, where he's kind of a wuss. He snowboards, he doesn't ski, but I have to give him mad credit for getting as many days in and being up on the first day and being down on the last day. So welcome, Chris. And of course, Sam is back from his little trip back east. Hi, Sam.
Hello, everybody. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm tired.
You are. You look kind of tired.
Yeah, I've been here all day.
Yeah.
But I love it.
It's a good place to be.
Yeah, it is.
I'm glad. Yeah, busy day.
It is.
John Doe Radio from 11 to 1, in the lab from 3 to 4, and of course now from 7 to 8. So it's a busy day at iCannabis Radio.
Yeah.
Mondays are fun days here.
Oh, that's what I say.
Yeah.
I love Mondays. I've always loved Mondays.
Mondays are good. Mondays are good. We have a really interesting concept show tonight. We're going to talk about marijuana in entertainment. On a whole bunch of levels. We are going to have a little bit of news today, but our big guests after the 7:30 break are Rosie Cruz, the executive producer, and Joletta Hardman, the writer of a new internet series called Hush, the series, and it's about a physician who gets imprisoned for providing her patients with cancer-curing cannabis. So we'll talk to them at 7:30-ish. But a couple things I want to talk about before that. First of all, freaking hot day today.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh. I know the country's kind of experiencing some heat waves. You just said you came back and it was in the 90s in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, plus humidity.
Plus humidity.
50%.
Ugh.
Oh, my God.
You get out of the shower and you just feel like you need to get right back in.
Oh, I don't.
Especially you.
I sweat. Yeah, I'm sweating when I get out of the shower.
Yeah.
It's useless.
Yeah, I hate that feeling. I hate that feeling. And growing up in Florida, like I get that.
I got humidity.
Here it's just too hot for this early.
It's still hot.
In July, beginning of August, I get it. June 10th.
It said 96 on my phone.
Apparently, we tied the record, which is 97, the official temperature. Hot.
What is this, Arizona?
Right. I personally don't really mind the heat so much. It kind of needs to come when it needs to come, and it's in the proper time, but we don't have control over that. I will say, though, that please, we are super dog friendly here. We love our dogs here, and there's always a dog in the studio, and but it is too hot to leave your dog in the car. Please know that it only takes a few minutes for a dog to die in a hot car. If the temperature is 75 degrees outside with the windows closed, it's 118 degrees inside your car. If it's 77 degrees, it's 123 degrees inside your hot car. 81 degrees, it's 138 degrees inside your car. And if it's 94 degrees, it's 145 degrees inside your car. So as much as you love bringing your pets around, do them a favor, leave them at home. Air conditioning, right? Give them a fan. And even, putting the windows open a little bit in your car, while that certainly helps on days like today, there's nothing that you can do to keep your dog comfortable enough. So leave them at home.
Yeah.
Little bit of news, some local, some national that we'll talk about today. The John Doe Radio Show does a whole bunch of news, and so I try not to repeat, but there's just some things that
are important news.
I just got to say. I just got to talk about. And the news broke yesterday about Trip Kieber from Dixie Elixirs and Botanicals that was arrested in Alabama at a music festival for pot possession. The Denver Post article states that the Colorado man behind one of the nation's largest medical marijuana products companies won't be able to use marijuana for 2 years after he was arrested for possession in Alabama. I think when when I first heard about this, I just kept thinking, Alabama, like who goes to Alabama?
Yeah, I was thinking, what's he doing in Alabama?
And if you're going to Alabama, are you smoking pot? I mean, I guess you
Don't-
are because you're in Alabama and you got to do something to get over the fact that you're in
How
Alabama.
long are you there for? I mean, is it worth it? It's Alabama. Any South state.
It's definitely not worth it.
opinion,
I'm sure
no.
Tripp would
Yeah,
wish that he
yeah.
had reconsidered.
He's not a marijuana user. He said it. He's not. He doesn't use cannabis a lot. So I was surprised that he was even caught with it at all. He was just holding it for a friend because he doesn't. Use
Well,
it.
well, I mean, I think some people say I don't use it because in comparison to others, I mean, clearly, if he's not using it, if it wasn't his news, why would he plead guilty? I mean,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah, and
say test me. I'm gonna test negative. So clearly, really bad judgment call on a whole bunch of levels. What I'm hoping more than anything, I mean, whatever happens to Tripp, I mean, I'm sorry that there are still states that arrest people for marijuana possession, but I don't want this to affect the industry in any negative way. I don't want people to think that everyone who is a business owner or works in the industry breaks the law like that. I mean, I hope that someone's bad judgment call doesn't become fodder for the people that are anti-legalization and anti-medical marijuana saying, look, they can't even follow the basic rules of another state. Going on in the article, so Tripp's company, obviously Dixie Elixirs, makes a line of marijuana-infused products. He pled guilty last month to a misdemeanor marijuana possession in Baldwin County, Alabama. A second charge of marijuana possession was dismissed as part of the deal, and the whole case will be wiped out if Keeber stays trouble-free for the next 2 years.
I think it's so doable.
That's a long time.
For me, well, I mean, yeah, it is. I know that. For 5 months for me, I was like, oh my god, depression. But I don't know.
I just think it's a long time to be on probation.
2 years, yeah.
This is a situation during some vacation where I basically made an error in judgment, Keeber said. Deputies arrested Keeber on May 18th, so it took quite a while for this to break the news. After he was found in possession of a small amount of concentrated marijuana while entering the Hangout Music Festival in Gulf Shores, Alabama. So that's why people go, is because apparently there's a thing called the Hangout Music Festival. Yeah. Keeber denies possessing cocaine as the deputies initially mistook the marijuana concentrate for cocaine.
I think it was in a vial, I think, and they said pure. I was talking to Tamar, and she was like, and they were like, whoa, red flag, and so.
They just didn't know what they were looking
Yeah,
at.
exactly. I mean, that's what they always do.
Alabama does not have a medical marijuana law as a result of limited marijuana legalization in Colorado. Keeber's possession likely wouldn't have brought him criminal charges here. Dixie Elixirs makes a whole bunch of stuff, and Keeber says that he reported the charges to the Colorado Medical Marijuana Enforcement Division, and does not believe that they will have an impact on his company's license, which is great for his company. Again, I really hope that people recognize that just because one person made a really bad decision and forgot that the rest of the world doesn't operate in the same fashion, doesn't have the same laws that Colorado has, that this won't have a negative impact on the industry.
I sent him a few good words on Facebook, because that always stinks, but.
Nice.
Well, yeah, it stinks. It always stinks. So send him a good message or two.
Well, I just, I wish that Alabama was in the 21st century, but they're not.
More enlightened, I know.
All the more reason to think before you act. I mean, really think that through.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry. I mean, I think Tripp's a really nice guy.
Yeah.
This was really bad decision making. Really bad decision making.
We all make mistakes, though. We do.
Yeah, but we're all not the owner of a pretty major
That's true.
medical marijuana company.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, there's a lot of things that definitely, it's like, you got to watch what you think.
When people already think that you're 10 steps below them, you've got to act like you're 15 steps ahead. You have got to be so squeaky clean that if someone were to look up, down, and sideways, that they would have nothing to judge you for.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the unfortunate reality of this burgeoning industry, is that people just assume that you're a drug dealer. People assume that you can't possibly follow the laws.
Right.
People assume that that really you're just a money hungry bastard who doesn't really care about patients or any of those kinds of things. I mean, that's the assumption that's out there.
That's the assumption.
So we just, people have to be more careful. And my guess is that he'll be a lot more careful in the future.
Yeah.
And maybe not go to the Hangout Music Festival until Alabama legalizes cannabis.
Yeah.
Other interesting local news, former state lab supervisor involved in possible cover-up. Doesn't that sound like something that you would hear on like NCIS or whatever?
Crime labs.
Yes. Cynthia Burbach resigned last week after serving for more than a decade as supervisor of the state's crime lab. This is here in Colorado. An internal review of the state's crime lab, which concluded in March but was only released on Friday, reportedly found that the supervisor overseeing the lab was often biased in favor of prosecutors.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I'm not surprised. There's a lot of people.
No surprise.
No surprise.
No surprise.
That sucks that that's here. Yeah, that sucks.
Yep. The audits conducted by the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment determined that in March that Cynthia Burbach, the former supervisor of the state's CDPHE, Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment's lab, may have tampered with or even lied about forensic tests in court. The report dated March 13th was only sent to Governor John Hickenlooper, all Colorado district attorneys and public defenders' offices, and other interested parties late in the day on Friday. The DAs may have known there was a problem with state labs and still sat on it, Dan Schoen, the executive director of the Colorado Criminal Defense Bar, told Fox 31 Denver Sunday. They've possibly blocked these disclosures and violated their responsibility by sitting on this information knowing it's been affecting cases. They are constitutionally required to disclose this, and we've had months of convictions and defendants taking pleas, possibly without evidence being disclosed that would have freed them. I mean, that's just disgusting to me.
Yeah.
Her own personal bias and judgment clouded her ability to do her job. And as a result, people's lives were radically changed forever.
I feel like
Bitch.
I'm surprised that it was a woman that did that because I feel like a woman's more nurturing and then wouldn't do that to another human. Maybe a guy would.
I mean, I think that what happens is that people get so stuck in their belief system that they'll do whatever it takes to propagate that. And if that means, wow, this evidence doesn't prove that this person is guilty, but I know in my heart of hearts that they certainly are, and I'm doing the world a favor by getting them off the streets or by punishing them, or maybe I'm even helping them by getting them treatment or support or those kinds of things. I mean, I can see how people's brains turn in crazy ways when you're entrenched in a belief system and you can't possibly just say, my job as a scientist is to do nothing more than to report the facts.
Yeah.
It's not to be judgmental. It's not to do anything but be an objective reporter, and she couldn't do that.
That's terrible.
Burbach, who served in the position for more than 10 years before she abruptly resigned, surprise, stopped signing the laboratory's official reports shortly after the audit was completed. And Schoen has long been suspicious of the state's lab and spent 3 years trying to bring this information to light. Schoen's organization informed Fox 31, Denver, and other media outlets about the letter in a press release Sunday afternoon. According to the press release, the lab supervisor, whose identity has thus been withheld, operated with a bias, quote, against individuals accused of crimes who were seeking exoneration in trial and, quote, in favor of getting convictions over doing justice and of helping prosecutors win trials over advancing science and the truth-seeking process. Interestingly, Burbach was the state's key witness at the Capitol in recent years, testifying in favor of setting a 5 nanogram marijuana bloodstream limit, something opponents of the proposal have decried and argued hasn't been based on real science. So if she's lied about one thing, who's to say that she's not lying about lots of others? Burbach testified in favor of driving under the influence of drugs proposals in 2011 and 12, but did not this year when the proposal finally passed and was signed into law. I never saw her as a liability, Arapahoe County District Attorney George Birchler told Fox 31 Sunday night. I always saw her as a value added when she was testifying in court. Berlacher didn't want to comment further until reading the full report, but said he'd been aware that Burbach had been considering resigning. I don't know if it was due to the report or not. Really? I mean, you're right, you don't know that, but you can make a pretty educated guess that it was indeed. I do know that criminal justice defense bar have had their own knives out for her for years. The audit itself was spurred by complaints from defense attorneys and by 2 employees at the state lab who came forward and questioned Burbach's practices. That's pretty darn juicy.
Yeah, I think everything. She's discredited now.
Oh, completely. Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
yeah, past episodes. Yeah. Phew.
Before we take a quick break, I just want to give you an update on what's happening with the Cleveland Indians closer Chris Perez. You guys know about this. He was arrested because he had some marijuana shipped to him.
Shipped?
Yeah, like
Lucky.
mailed to him.
Yeah, it's shipped.
Yeah, sent to his dog. Injured Indians closer Chris Perez and his wife pleaded not guilty Monday to a misdemeanor marijuana possession charge. The pleas were faxed into Rocky River Municipal Court by their attorneys and included a request to drop the requirement that the Perez's appear in person for their June 19th arraignment, according to the AP. The charges stem from an investigation last week that revealed 2 packages containing about 1/3 of a pound of marijuana were delivered to the Perez household in the name of their dog.
Man, that's funny.
Yeah, it was
Where
sent to
did-
their dog. It was sent to their dog and then his wife's maiden name. So I think their dog's name was Bailey and her maiden name is Baum, so that it was addressed to Bailey Baum. That's
Yeah.
clever, isn't it? I know, really clever. Authorities say Melanie Perez, whose maiden name is Baum, told the undercover officers that who were delivering the packages that they were intended for her dog. Chris Perez was reportedly cooperative with authorities as he volunteered to direct officers to the location of the drugs when asked. Reports indicate charges of this nature are tantamount to a traffic ticket, meaning Perez faces little more than a fine at worst. Under the MLB drug agreement, players face treatment programs instead of suspension for this kind of offense. Perez, 27, has successfully closed 6 of his 8 save chances this season, but he's injured right now. He's got a rotator cuff issue. When the police got to his house, he had a little bit of weed, a little bit of paraphernalia, that kind of thing. But Bailey, on the other hand, Bailey had a shit ton of stuff in his room. I'm going to tell you that. All right, you're listening to iCannabis Radio. I'm Georgia, and we'll be back in just a few minutes.
Are you a medical marijuana patient or interested in finding out how to become one? Contact Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern. Conveniently located on Hamden and Tamarack in the Whole Foods parking lot behind Proof of the Pudding, Mile High Wellness offers a wide variety of edibles, hashes, and some of Colorado's top strains. Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern. 3525 South Tamarack, Suite 110, on the corner of Hamden and Tamarack. 720-382-8516. Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern.
Whether you are a commercial grower or cultivate as a hobby, No Dough Urban Garden Supply is Denver's first stop for your hydroponic grow needs. With a wide range of products including House and Garden, Botanicare, and Fox Farm, their knowledgeable staff can get you started on your first garden or help you with your well-established business. No Dough Urban Garden Supply is located in downtown Denver at 1330 27th Street, 4 blocks north of Coors Field near MMD of Colorado. They are open 6 days a week from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. Call 303-296-3424 or visit them on the web at www.nodoughurbangardensupply.com.
Green Faith Ministry is for spiritual guidance, MMJ information, and networking combined with compassionate care on the way to enlightenment with all Green Faith sacraments. Green Faith provides charity assistance, including medical and food throughout the year. Contact them at greenfaithministry.com.
Hi, welcome back. So we're just going to do a little bit of news, and then we're going to talk pot entertainment. Potainment?
Potainment.
Potainment. Can-attainment? I don't know. We'll come up with some catchy something or other. Have a little bit of sad news for residents of Maine. Maine Senate opposes sending recreational marijuana question to voters. On the break, Sam was just saying, yeah, why bother asking people their opinion? You know, they're only residents of the state who pay their taxes and, you know, get to make decisions on the laws of their state. Why bother
Did we
asking
give them their jobs? Didn't we give those people their jobs?
Your cousin did.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
The
now-
Maine Senate on Monday snuffed any chance that state's voters will decide at the ballot box this year whether or not to make marijuana legal for recreational use. The Senate voted 20-10 Monday morning against sending the question to the November ballot. That followed a vote Friday in the House of Representatives where the measure fell 4 votes short of passage. The measure stemmed from LD 1229, which was sponsored by Representative Diane Russell of Portland, Maine, who proposed a system of regulating and taxing the drug. After a clear majority of criminal justice and public safety committee opposed the plan. Lawmakers who voted in the majority moved forward with an amendment calling for a referendum that would send voters a straight up or down question as to whether or not the state should craft rules to allow recreational use of marijuana. The Senate debated that question Monday. While some senators argued that the legislature should act before the issue is forced upon the lawmakers by a citizen initiative, others made it clear that they don't want their votes recorded as paving the way to legalized pot. We need to get ahead of this issue, said Senator Linda Valentino, a Democrat from Saco, Maine, noting that gambling and alcohol are addictive and allowed and regulated in Maine. She argued the question posed by LD 1229 would give legislators better control of rulemaking than a citizen initiative would. Senator Gary Plummer said the decision should be left to the Maine people. This bill doesn't propose legalizing marijuana, said Plummer. I think it's important to ask people their opinion. While some argue that legalizing marijuana would lead to more people becoming addicted to harder drugs, Plummer rejected that notion because that's from the 1930s.
Yeah,
Thank
it's a
you, Plummer.
logical fallacy.
It's a gateway drug because the same people selling it are selling other drugs, said Plummer.
Right.
I have more confidence in our government than in a drug dealer. Hear, hear. Although I'm not sure that I have more confidence in our government than a drug dealer. I certainly have more confidence in the way that businesses are run than I do in our government or drug dealers. Senator John Cleveland of Auburn, Maine, said legalizing marijuana would pose a challenge for parents trying to keep their kids off the drug, but no more challenge than they face regarding alcohol or tobacco use. Well, I think that's true. I mean, I think you just have to talk to your kids and educate them and say cigarettes are bad and marijuana and alcohol are for when you're older.
When you're older,
And if you ever smoke cigarettes, you're stupid.
you're a dummy.
Yeah. Simply by not allowing it to a vote or allowing it to be legal doesn't change those conversations, says Cleveland. I'd ask you to seriously consider what the better outcome is. Trust the people of Maine to make a reasonable decision on this. But the argument against the bill were passionate and numerous, including one from at least one of its co-sponsors. You can't charge a tax on something that's federally illegal. Who's going to say what I have in a pouch came from my backyard or someone else's backyard or a store? I don't know, you label it, you have a receipt for it, you track it seed to sale. That would be the way that, I don't know, Colorado does it. I don't want to jeopardize what we do for the people who need it badly. We're being allowed to do this because we're regulating it and overseeing it. Let the people send it to us. Let's get a clear message for what the people and from the people, and then we'll deal with it. The legislature's refusal to put the question on the ballot may well end up a moot point. A group called the Marijuana Policy Project has said it plans to collect enough signatures to put the question on the ballot in November 2016. So MPP is going to come and save the day in Maine. Another marijuana-related bill received strong support in the House on Monday. Lawmakers voted 105 to 35 in favor of LD 1062, a measure which would add new medical conditions as qualifications for medical marijuana use. The bill, which faces more votes in the House and Senate, adds post-traumatic stress disorder, inflammatory bowel disease, and disorders causing severe and persistent muscle spasms to the list of conditions for which medical marijuana can be prescribed. So that is a fantastic ending to a not-so-great article.
Yeah.
Let's see what time it is. All right, so we got a little bit of time left. I want to talk a little bit about pot entertainment. I mean, it's kind of amazing. Not kind of. It's quite amazing how over the years, marijuana has been mentioned in a variety of ways on television in particular. And of course, we're doing this because we're going to talk to the writer and executive producer of a new internet series called Hush about a physician who prescribes and gives medical marijuana to her cancer patients and is imprisoned for it. And now marijuana is a common theme in a lot of shows. And it's always, I mean, the Brady Bunch and Different Strokes and, you know, these shows from the 70s and the 80s and the 90s all had episodes talking about marijuana.
Really?
You know.
I want to watch that one.
Yeah. I mean, they're like the Different Strokes episode is, you know, the older son going to high school and wanting to be cool. And so someone asks him to buy, you know, weed for him and he does it because his dad gives him money. And sort of the message of the show isn't that, wow, having marijuana is bad. The message of the show was these people aren't your friends if they make you buy them stuff. If you have to pay to be their friend, then they're not your friend. And so even then, there wasn't this message of the demon weed. But today, in 2013, we have tons of shows. I mean, centered around, focused on.
I actually watched an episode yesterday of a show. It was hilarious, and the entire thing was marijuana. And they got a new grower, and it was like, where's this stuff? I was cracking up. I was crying. It was so funny, but it is all marijuana.
Well, and certainly, like I said, there's lots of shows that have episodes, and then there's shows that their entire content is marijuana related. And the most obvious, of course, is Weeds, and you know, everyone has heard of it or watched it. And if I have one more person saying, "Oh, you look like the lady from Weeds," I'm going to scream.
Nancy bought one.
You know, it's no longer kind of this taboo topic. It's just this very big piece of Americana. But I was going through in my head just really quickly, you know, what were the top shows that I could think of that were all centered on marijuana, and lots of them, of course, were sort of docudramas or documentaries. But all right, see what other things you guys can come up with. Okay, so I've got Weeds, American Weeds, Pot Cop, Wilfred, Weed Country, Drug Incorporated, Marijuana Incorporated, Weed Wars, The Philosopher's Stone, The Union, How Weed Won the West, PBS's The Botany of Desire, Frontline did The Pot Republic, The Hemp Revolution, High, The True Tale of Marijuana, The Medical Marijuana Gentox, A Normal Life, Vanguard, Marijuana Wars 1 and 2. I think I skipped something in here. I mean, those are just the things that I kind of came up with off the top of my head that were just, you know, here's stuff on you know, shows centered around marijuana. And then, of course, you know, we know, how about the Family Guys episode of when Brian helps legalize, Bag of Weed, the Bag of Weed song.
We were just watching the Cleveland show, and at the end they're like, half of you are doing it, you know, and they're smoking. It's a normal thing. Workaholics, you know, they're smoking all the time.
Yep. How about
it's a good show.
That 70s show where the funniest parts of that entire show are when they're sitting in the basement just passing a joint. Yeah. And it's so funny and so ridiculous and so silly and so funny. So the Family Guy, the 420 show, there's so many things, but Brian is in possession of a quarter of marijuana and arrested instead of Peter, who's driving a car while drunk and wearing a bloodstained shirt. You know, but Brian gets arrested for his 7 grams. And Brian and Stewie sing the Bag of Weed song. And if you guys if you haven't heard it, you've got to YouTube it. It's hilarious. I was going to play it tonight, but everyone's heard it. And I spend the whole time laughing. So, I mean, I can kind of sing it word for word because I think it's really funny. But Quahog legalizes marijuana and hemp because Brian is a hemp master. Drug becomes legalized in Quahog. See, he can't help but to sing it. And everything's made of hemp, and Mr. Peter Smith, who is losing millions of dollars in the timber industry because now everything's made with hemp, and he tells Brian that if he can recriminalize marijuana, he'll publish 2 million copies of Brian's novel faster than the speed of love. After originally saying no, Brian agrees, sings a song about how bad pot is, and becomes illegal once again. Lesson learned, people will listen to anything as long as it's sung. But you know, TV is... I mean, even if people don't have a TV, they watch it on the internet. They've got Hulu and Netflix and all those kinds of things. And so the amounts of, I mean, gone are the days where people are like, oh, I can't do anything. It's Tuesday night at 8:30 and I've got to watch my episode of whatever. They've either TiVoed it or they're going to watch it later on, or you know, over the summer they're going to Netflix it and watch all the episodes all together. And so the way that people are getting their information now is through that medium. And so it's not surprising that producers like the folks from Hush have decided to share this information via that kind of venue. So I mean, everything you do, watch TV and see how many times you see it's 4:20 on the clock. I just posted something. There's a cartoon that my kid watches.
I watch it too.
And yeah, it's freaking hilarious.
Yeah, it is.
And they're watching something on a VCR. Whoever has a VCR, I don't know, but these characters in this cartoon do. And the time on the VCR is 4:20. And then it changes to another time, and then it changes back to 4:20. So is that an accident?
Well, you posted also like that original, and I know the pilots were drawn, and they were for college students, and most college students smoke weed, and it was funny. It's funny, and also there's two. It was can I say the name?
Regular Show.
Regular Show.
Yep.
And it was just hilarious. I love that show. And the other one's Adventure Time.
Adventure Time.
And the Adventure Time has a lot of funny things. I was watching it once, and this guy was like, "They're gonna sack our nuts, our nut for and there's like, what are they talking? It's for kids." And clearly, it's like you have innuendo like nut sacks. They're like, I don't want them to sack our nuts.
I don't let my kid watch Adventure Time. I think it's a little too much. But Regular Show is freaking hilarious.
It is.
But yeah, totally made for stoners. These are two like 23-year-old guys who are best friends who work in a park, play a lot of video games. They have one of their best friends is a guy named High Five Ghost. He's a ghost with a hand sticking out of the top of his head. He's a ghost. It's a great show.
Yeah,
it's a great show. But I don't know if that was an accident or not. I mean, it could have been, but
Probably not.
who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? So we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back with Rosie Cruz and Joletta Hardman, who are the executive producer and writer of the series Hush.
The law offices of Edson, Maton, and Matz provide criminal defense, medical marijuana defense, and advice about setting up and running medical marijuana centers, optional premises cultivation operations, and infused product manufacturing businesses throughout Colorado. With offices in Denver and Aspen, we can offer assistance throughout the entire state of Colorado. Give us a call at 303-831-8188. That's 303-831-8188. Or visit us online at warrenedson.com.
High up in the Rockies is beautiful Frisco, Colorado. Medical Marijuana of the Rockies is a medical marijuana center with compassion for Colorado's medical patients. Looking for great meds grown organically in soil? You've come to the right place. Medical Marijuana of the Rockies is just off I-70 at exit 203. Check them out at the web at www.mmrockies.com. Their ever-changing strain and clone selection is updated on the website daily. When making a trip to the mountains, no matter the season, stop by Medical Marijuana of the Rockies. Make sure you say you heard about them on iCannabis Radio. You can call 970-668-MEDS to get more information. Medical Marijuana of the Rockies, your mountain source for meds.
I'm Gary Johnson, and you're listening to iCannabis Radio, and I want to say, talk it up, Colorado.
Hi, welcome back. I'm Georgia, and you're listening to iCannabis Radio, and we are going to go ahead and call Rosie Cruz.
Hello.
Hi,
This is
Rosie.
Rosie.
Hi, Rosie. This is Georgia. You're live on iCannabis Radio.
Oh, hi, Georgia. I have Joletta, and I'd like to try and merge her. So
Yeah.
Can I take a moment?
Please do. Please
Awesome.
do.
Okay, awesome.
So Rosie's going to go ahead, and she is going to three-way call in Joletta Hardman so we can have both the executive producer and writer of this series and talk to them both about this amazing information that they're getting out for people in such a creative way. Now, if you haven't checked out our Facebook page, Sam put up a link to the trailer for the show, so definitely check that out as well. And I think I reposted it today also.
Yeah.
So you've got to check it out. You've got to be able to see the excitement that they have going on Hush, the series. All right, these are those fun moments. These guys are located in California, and I have put together this series, and they're hoping they're doing a Kickstart campaign. So we also have a link to that as well. And the Kickstart campaign is to raise money to be able to help produce and air the show. Their Kickstart campaign runs through the 15th, which is this weekend. So please check it out. And if you're able to give to this process, they would really appreciate it. Any money to defer these costs would be great. And again, if we can help support getting any cannabis information out there, and so people are no longer shocked or surprised, or all they are is pleased to be able to get more information, or it just becomes kind of like a scene at a bar or those kinds of things that doesn't even faze you anymore. You're not saying, "Oh, they're smoking pot," that's just part of what happens. So are we still on the line, Chris, with her?
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, let's try it. Let's try calling back. We'll try calling back one more time and see if we can talk to Rosie Cruz. I don't know how we missed her.
Sometimes three-way calls do that.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Sometimes they just drop.
Yeah.
We'll see what we can do. There we go. Calling back. Ring, ring. Ring, ring.
Hello.
Hi, Rosie. It's Georgia again.
Oh, hi. I tried merging, but my phone kept on dropping.
Oh.
So, if I can merge us now, if you want to give me a moment.
Yeah, of course. Of course. And it's going to work this time, I can tell. We're going to totally do fine. We're going to totally...
Okay, we're on a conference call.
Hi, ladies.
Hi.
Hi, you guys are live on iCannabis Radio. Rosie Cruz is the executive producer, and Joletta Hardman, writer of Hush the series. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Oh, thank you for having us.
Yeah. So we've posted your link on our site, and people want to know. Tell us a little bit about how you came to be producing this show.
Yeah, this is Joletta speaking. So Rosie and I know each other. We're both actors, and we've known each other for some years. And we felt we wanted to do something with our art and say something. So I came to her and I said, "Do you want to produce something with me?" And she said, "Yes." And we sat down and decided. Well, we talked through what kind of story we want to tell, and this kind of emerged. It was sort of organic. Rosie, you want to talk a little bit more about that?
We live in the Bay Area where there's a lot here that we can indulge in, and being actresses in the Bay Area and migrating down to LA every once in a while to work that side of the industry, we really wanted to focus in on a woman's story.
Yeah.
And so when we sat, we talked about different topics that reflect the Bay Area. There was a lot here as far as different kinds of industries and how we could integrate it into a story that reflects women and how women work with one another, against one another, play into a drama, and all these elements seem to come out of where our lifestyles organically in this area of California, Northern California. There's a lot of industries. One is the biotech industry. Another is the cannabis industry. Another is just what else do we pull out of here? Things that the demand that it takes in order to live here in the Bay Area. It's a high-paced place to be.
Yeah.
And to actually survive. So, people have multiple jobs, they have multiple projects that they're working on in different industries, and the fact that the Bay Area held the title for the breast cancer of the world per capita. It was in Marin for about 7 or 8 years, and it migrated down to Silicon Valley. So for us, being women and knowing that information, there has to be something here in the Bay Area that is environmental.
Sure.
If not environmental, maybe it's lifestyle. So we try to, integrate some of that in there. And then I remember hearing about these groups that not self-cure, but self-medicate with formulations from aloe, from cannabis, from natural substance.
Yeah.
And people are healing. And I thought, really? Let's check it out. And Joletta is being creative here, and she came up with this story while we were, I was like interviewing other people, and then voila, this just kind of came out organically. And the more people we interviewed and talked to, the more stories that we find that reflect there's value to this story. And,
if I could interject there, something I was having dinner with my parents, and my mom had seen this movie Brzezinski, and she was so inflamed about the injustice that was happening to this doctor. I first, thought, well, yeah, it's probably just, a mockumentary, and I watched it myself and couldn't believe it, and I thought there was a real basis for a story there, and that's kind of where the doctor character comes from. And then the fact that she's healing people with a strain of cannabis, which is actually fiction. She works in the lab and creates a strain that cures a specific kind of breast cancer. That kind of came out of talking with Rosie about what she had discovered in those mountains there. And actually, honestly, I didn't even think that there were people... there were groups saying that cannabis cured their cancer, and I was ignorant to all of that until I started researching, and I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
And, I thought I was writing fiction, and here's all these people coming forward with, testimonials. So that was an eye-opener for me personally.
So you touched on a little bit about the plot of the story, but kind of give a little bit more. So what is this? What is Hush about?
Yeah. Hush is the interweaving stories of, let me start at the top. So there's a doctor, and she was imprisoned for creating and administering a cure for cancer, and the FDA put her in jail. And so this young reporter comes in and tries to break the story and also break her career by telling the story that nobody is going to cover. And at the same time, the doctor wants to get out of jail, and she wants to help her get out. And so they're trying to figure out who ratted her out to the FDA in the first place, and also come up with a strategy how they're going to get her out of there. So basically, every episode begins with them in jail trying to backtrack, and you're bouncing back in time, and you're finding different characters and what's going on in their lives. And slowly these stories intertwine until you see how they all wind together to bring this doctor down, whether they mean to or not. And just how the lives of the Bay Area and women in particularly, how these, strong characters, they have important jobs and just the pressure that goes into daily life. And they all have also something they really want, and they're trying to attain that. So there's an element there of, a parallel stories where it's not just cancer that is killing people, but kind of the human condition is killing them. The search to be happy and find hope and find peace and family and truth, and this sort of winds its way through.
So when did you start working on this project?
I think we talked first in October of last year.
Yeah, that's right. And it evolved. It evolved really quickly. We had a solid story probably before the holidays hit.
December, yep.
Yeah.
We had the outline in December, and then I wrote it over Christmas break. You could call it a break.
And then tell us a little bit about the Kickstart campaign.
Rosie?
Well, we thought that we could put it out there into the public and see what our draw would be. And through this, we have had numerous emails, positive emails that explain people's story and how they really, really support the story and the idea, how it reflects certain parts of their lives, and we're we get really excited when we read those because they're really inspiring. It's art does reflect true life in some form, and I'm really excited to see that this is coming to fruition, and hope that there is an audience, and hope that we are able to present truth, fact, and open the door to the conversation that this is a possibility, because a lot of people have stepped forward in from the darkness, or from they don't come out in public to state this information, but once somebody realizes it, then they come out and say, "Oh yeah, I've been there too," and they can relate. So we're really excited that that part is coming out.
So how?
Yeah, I think. Go ahead.
No, Gilletta, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say the Kickstarter campaign was kind of a way to begin gathering funds, but primarily I think it was to attract an audience, like Rosie was saying. You want to show that there are numbers of people who will actually open their wallets to promote something like this kind of entertainment, or this kind of a message, and that's what you show to investors and the like. So that's kind of where we started.
So what do people need to do to watch and get more information?
You can go to our Kickstarter page. Also, our website.
Go to our website. Our website has volumes of information. It has a few different videos. It tells where we would like to go with this, what we have already completed. It gives people a way to contact us, how to connect with us via Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. We're trying to draw an audience to show that there is, this is something that we'd like to tell, and it's not just for us, it's for many communities, and many communities can relate and integrate possibly and join. So,
and the web address is?
I'm sorry?
The website is?
www.hushtheseries.com.
Excellent. So before we had you on, we were talking a little bit about cannabis in entertainment in general, and particularly in a TV medium, and for years there have been episodes of TV shows, and we were talking about even the Brady Bunch and those kinds of things had references to or episodes about cannabis, or someone smoking pot, or someone getting caught with a joint, or those kinds of things, and typically they were a little bit life lesson-y, but always a little bit funny, and always a little bit, making fun of the pot smoker, making fun of the stoner, those really overdone stoner jokes. And then recently there's been this surge towards the marijuana documentary and the docudrama, and it's not funny anymore, and it's real, and I think one of the things that I find interesting about your series is you don't take a funny approach. You take a very serious, life-changing kind of approach. Do you see that this has that you guys have kind of gotten to the pinnacle of this change in the view of cannabis?
I feel that these things you're talking about, I think there's a change in the air in general. People feel like the things they used to make fun of seem to have flipped. People are no longer being called quacks because they think Monsanto is out to get us, or there's this, you have the Turkish, you can call it revolution, whatever that's going on over there. There's a lot in the air. People's hearts and minds are changing. I think to be more open-minded, to say, maybe I was wrong at seeing it this way. I definitely think you're right that I've witnessed a lot of Cheech and Chong in the past.
Right.
And there's just, and that has definitely shaped the way I view marijuana. And the more I did research, the more I realized, gosh, it's just a plant. Rosie recently spoke with someone who is heading up, can you talk about that man who's helping people in jail?
Human, it slips my mind. Human, yes, that was correct. That's correct. And, it's unjust that people get thrown in jail for minor reasons. There are reasons, we need to really focus in on other reasons why we throw people in jail, right?
Sure.
Not just moms who are growing a plant to take care of themselves or their neighbor. Jail is for the criminal, not these kind of people. And it broke my heart to hear all these stories. Our doctor, our character, our main character, is put in jail, and we have to decide whether, through the story, we have to look at everything, and there's 32 episodes written, decided out with information to present to an audience. Now, do you really believe that this person needs to be in jail? And you need to decide for yourself. But this is fictitious. It's not, it's not real.
Right.
But there are people that live this reality, and it sucks for them, and their lives are destroyed, and that's not right. So, but there's a lot of things that are in the story that we'd like to present, and hopefully we will be able to push this out to not just the U.S., but globally, because it happens all over the world.
That's right.
That was something that, we discovered just recently, too.
Well, it's so appreciated that your perspective and your desire to do a project together resulted in showing a strong female doctor doing the right thing for people and the injustices that came to her. And we wish you the best of luck in this project, and we will be following you. And if there's anything that we can do at iCannabis Radio to help support you, we will be happy to do that.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We've been talking to Rosie Cruz and Joletta Hardman from Hush the Series. Please visit them at www.hushtheseries.com. And like I said, their Kickstart campaign ends on the 15th, so be sure to help them out if you can. We have another big week on iCannabis Radio, of course. Mondays fly by. But Tuesdays are followed up with Sexpot Radio from 6 to 8. Don't miss out on Jenny Cush. And then, of course, Thursday, the Hemp Connoisseur from 4 to 5 p.m. And every day during the week from 11 to 1, John Doe Radio, where, Bike just kicks Tim's ass every day. I don't know how he handles it, but he does a great job. So be sure to check him out. And then, of course, next week on my show from 7 to 8 on Monday, it's Cannabis History. This is Hemp History Week. Did you guys know that? Yeah. So I'm sure on Thursday that'll be a big topic of the Hemp Connoisseur Show. So we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll steal a little thunder post Hemp History Week on next Monday. I want to thank my sponsors. Thank you so much to Mile High Wellness, Nodo Urban Garden Supply, Cuffle, Collimore and Company, Edson Maton and Mats, Medical Marijuana of the Rockies, Medical Marijuana 101, and Run on Grass. Again, be sure to check out hushtheseries.com and watch it. And if you happen to want to see the Bag of Weed song, it's on YouTube. It's really funny. Thank you so much for being here tonight. I am Georgia, and you're listening to iCannabis Radio. We'll see you next week.
Let's face it, rules and regulations are complicated, especially in the field of medical marijuana. Let Medical Marijuana 101 help you get through the compliance process. We can also explain to you your employment requirements, your employees, and your business. But our work doesn't stop there. Our experience in cultivation ranges from the design of grow rooms to the diagnosis and resolution of grow problems. Visit us at www.medicalmarijuana101.com or call 303-388-7706. That's 303-388-7706. Are you a runner? Are you a runner who supports marijuana legalization? Run on Grass is a group of athletes actively seeking to change our marijuana laws. We speak the truth about cannabis, bringing the message through our feet to new ears. Check out runongrass.com to find out more about us, our events, and how to join up or how to sponsor a runner. If you're in the Denver area, please join us for runs or start a group in your area. Running not your thing? Any sport can do it on grass. runongrass.com.
The National Cannabis Industry Association would like to thank its members who represent the leading professional businesses in America's emerging legal cannabis market. NCIA is the only organization that has unified legitimate cannabis business across the nation to fight for real reform in Washington, D.C. For more information or to make your business a member, visit us online at thecannabisindustry.org.
Hi, you're listening to my mom, Georgia Edson, on iCannabisRadio.com.